Hello, everyone. My name is Janquisha Stevens, and today I'll be exploring how recent shifts in remote work policy reflect broader human resource management strategies, especially as we navigate a cooling labor market. During the pandemic, employees had significant leverage. Remote work became a standard expectation rather than a perk. But as we've moved into 2025, we're seeing major power shifts back toward employers. Companies are not only reevaluating workplace flexibility, but are also rethinking how they manage and engage talent overall. So, in my presentation, it is based off of the Wall Street Journal article, Balance of Power Shifts Back Toward Bosses, and it also links back to the concepts from our textbook, Business Foundations: A Changing World. My goal today is to show how these real world developments are directly connected to the foundational principles of human resources. So, who holds the power in today's workplace? Is it employers or employees? During the height of the pandemic, the labor market was incredibly tight, and remote work gave employees unprecedented flexibility and autonomy. Companies had to compete fiercely for talent, often offering remote work, bonuses, and expanded benefits to retain their workforce. But today, that environment has shifted. As companies confront economic uncertainty and changes in workforce demand, they're pulling back flexibility and regaining more control over workplace norms. This shift isn't just a policy change, it's a fundamental shift in how HR operates, how companies engage with employees, and how they define productivity. In the next few slides, I'll walk through the core ideas from the article and then break down what they mean for HR professionals. So that's from covering recruitment, engagement, compensation, performance, and strategic HR planning. The article I'm referencing was published in January of this year, and it features companies like JP Morgan, Amazon, and Dell, all of which have recently tightened their remote work policies. So here are some key data points. The job vacancy ratio has fallen from two open roles per unemployed person to about 1.1. That is a significant drop. Unemployment has risen to 4.1%, signaling a cooling labor market. This shift is in supply and demand and gives employers the upper hand. They no longer feel like they need to offer remote work or extensive perks to attract candidates. As a result, we're seeing a return to in office mandates, even for roles that were previously remote. Beyond that, companies are quietly cutting costs. Rather than layoffs, they are scaling back on benefits like tuition reimbursement, pet sick leave, and business travel. The article calls this quiet cutting, and it's forcing employees to make hard decisions, return to the office, or risk being replaced. For HR departments, these trends signal a need to rethink how we manage people, both in terms of compliance and in terms of culture. So let's look at how this shift impacts recruitment and retention, which are critical components of human resource strategy. Previously, offering remote or hybrid work gave companies a competitive edge in attracting talent. It especially appealed to millennials like myself and Gen Z, who place a high value on flexibility, wellness, and life balance. But now, with increased mandates, that value proposition is fading. We're seeing resistance from employees who were hired remotely and are now being told to return to an office they've never worked in. HR teams need to act proactively. Job postings must clearly communicate work expectations, whether remote, hybrid, or fully in office. Ambiguity can lead to frustration and higher turnover. Retention strategies must also be revisited. Are we offering enough career development opportunities to make in office work feel worthwhile? Are we maintaining fairness between employees who are remote versus in person? HR professionals must balance transparency and empathy to retain top talent in this new environment. Next, let's talk about engagement and organizational culture. These two things are deeply affected by the return to office shift. Companies argue that in person work fosters better collaboration, innovation, and mentorship. So there is truth to that, but how these mandates are implemented matters. If employees feel forced back into the office without a clear reason or without changes that improve their experience, they're likely to disengage. There's also a psychological impact. Many employees who thrive while working remotely now feel disturbed or monitored, leading to dissatisfaction and even burnout. HR must communicate why the return to office policy exists. Is it for team alignment? Is it to improve onboarding? For client facing work? And how can we make the office worth coming to? From an HR lens, this is about change management. We need to support leaders in reinforcing company culture and also provide resources like communication training or wellness programs to help teams adapt without resentment. And third, we're seeing changes in compensation and performance management. Rather than conducting large scale layoffs, companies are subtly reducing costs by eliminating perks. But this can damage employee morale just as much. One of the more concerning trends is the growing reliance on badge data, tracking when and how often employees swipe into the building. So this raises questions. Are we valuing attendance over actual contributions? Are we penalizing highly productive employees just because they prefer working remotely? As HR professionals, we must advocate for performance systems that reward results, not just presence. Metrics should focus on deliverables, collaboration, and initiative. And managers must be trained to give fair, objective feedback, whether an employee works from a desk in the office or a laptop at home. So, with all that being said, what can HR actually do about this? Here I've laid out four actionable strategies. The first one, set clear hybrid expectations in every job description. Clarity up front can help to reduce turnover later. Number two is to revamp onboarding for remote and hybrid roles. So consider virtual mentorship, interactive training, and regular check ins. Third, shift performance metrics to emphasize deliverables, not physical attendance. Managers should focus on outputs and impact. And the fourth one, offer modern perks like wellness allowances, internet stipends, or flexible start times. These can offset the perception of reduced freedom and show empathy for employees' needs. By implementing these strategies, HR can turn a potential morale crisis into opportunity to lead with intention and strategy. And in conclusion, the labor market has shifted, and with that shift, employers are reasserting control over where and how people work, putting pressure on HR to rethink how we recruit, engage, evaluate, and retain employees. So, yes, companies may have the upper hand right now, but how they choose to exercise that power will determine whether they retain talent or lose it to more flexible competitors. The key takeaway here is this: HR policy must align with both organizational goals and employee needs. Success in the modern workplace will belong to companies that can adapt thoughtfully and communicate transparently. And again, to reiterate, my presentation was based off the Wall Street Journal article, Balance of Power Shifts Back to Our Bosses by Kathleen Coetzee and Lauren Weber, and also references our textbook, Business Foundations: A Changing World by Farrell, Hurt, and Farrell. Thank you.